CTV family. Catch us live on your TV screens.
We are down to the last quarter of the show, but ladies and gentlemen, we cannot wrap this show up without giving you guys an exclusive interview with Miss South Africa. I went out to Rustenburg Girls Junior and we spoke to Miss South Africa about her newly released ncwadi titled Shudu Finds Her Magic, which is aimed at encouraging young girls and boys to speak out about bullying and mental health. But I have Miss SA on standby who's going to tell us all about that. Enjoy.
Are you agree? Yeah! So let's see those invisible parts. That's it. We all have it. We all have it. And you always have it. All the time. It never comes off. It never ever comes off. I'm 25.
This is Extra Live, and this is the moment that we have all been waiting for. Miss South Africa Shudufhadzo Musida, and she is going to tell us about Shudu Finds Her Magic and what actually inspired her to write this book. Shudu, how are you doing? And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm very well. Can I please just ask, how do I say welcome in your native language?
Notanganedziwa.
No, Tanganezi Washudu for joining us today. Thank you so much. To tell us what inspired you to write this book, because this book is such a personal journey for you.
It was exactly that, the fact that it was a personal journey, but also how my story could be used as part of mental health education. I believe that there's a culture of bullying, there's a culture of stigmatization of mental health in our schools, in our societies, and it's time for us to tackle it head on. So I thought, as part of the mindful movement that we've been doing with Mindful Mondays, which I host on Instagram, we address young adults and people that have access to that. But then imagine if we could bring this book into our schools and start addressing it from the ground up with children. We can bring about a society that has destigmatized mental health. So that was quite important for me, for me to also just let young children know that they've got a voice. Speak up until you heard. There's always someone that's willing to listen. You're never, ever, ever alone. Yes.
And I think one thing that I love that you mentioned is that this is a children's book. Why actually did you decide, okay, I'm actually going to write a children's book for young people on the ground?
As I said, like, children are very, very important. And in terms of trying to destigmatize mental health, if we start from the ground up, make them familiar with the concept of mental health, what it is. I was very shocked today sitting here. There was a child that spoke about mindfulness. It was so beautiful to know that these topics are actually being introduced in their homes as well. So it's time for us to bring them into our schools from a young age. And I was having a session, Mindful Monday session on Monday, where a psychologist spoke about how the youngest child to die by suicide was 7 years old. The youngest child in a psychologist's office that I've heard about is 2 years old. It's never too early to start them young on mental health and bringing about mental health education and addressing bullying and removing this conspiracy of silence that exists around it.
And I'm sure there are so many young children that are watching this interview, and also just generally in society. I find that people don't speak enough about mental health and mental health issues. So as Miss South Africa, what message do you have for our young and old viewers sitting there at home that might be suffering or going through depression and anxiety?
I think the message that I have for them, the biggest thing about mental health is that you're not alone. You're never, ever alone. There's always someone that's willing to listen. I mean, the South African Depression and Anxiety Group has a counseling hotline. They have a suicide helpline. So you're never, ever alone. There's always someone that's willing to listen. And it's okay to not be okay. I know when someone is struggling with their mental health, we tend to invalidate our feelings. But there's no need for you to invalidate your feelings, because your feelings are valid. And there's always someone there that's willing to listen, and you're not alone. So that's my message to them.
Thank you so much, Miss South Africa. And just before we wrap it up, how have the children, when you're going on those tours and you're speaking to these young girls, how have they been receiving your book?
These children are smart. I had to ask them today. I was like, how old are you? How old are you? Because they're so smart and they've been receiving the book so well. And I love how the messaging that we were trying to communicate with them, because we worked with child psychologists as well. The messaging that we were trying to communicate with them is the messaging that they're receiving. I read the book and I ask them, what did you learn? And they'll tell me every single thing that I've told you about the book. And I don't even have to tell them. I just reiterate what they're saying, and it just shows the importance of mental health education, because they're willing and they're ready to listen to all of this.
Thank you so much, Shudufhadzo. Thank you so much for taking time to actually join us up at XLF. And I think the one message that we can all walk away from this conversation is that you are not alone. So please make sure and you keep it locked. Rustenburg Girls Junior School, and we are here to chat to the students to find out Miss SA. Chema, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks. And you?
I'm very well, thank you. So tell us, what do you love about Miss South Africa?
I love that she's kind, she's honest, and she is very enthusiastic.
Very enthusiastic.
You shouldn't bully, and you should also find yourself as a queen.
What else?
And you should never judge someone.
Oh yes, guys, did you hear that? You shouldn't bully, find yourself as a queen and wear your invisible crown, right? So can you show the people at home what your invisible crown looks like? That is Pirit. She is a queen. Tell us, what did you enjoy most about the book and what did you learn from Shudu Finds Her Magic?
I learned that you must always stand up for what you believe. Don't listen to people who don't have anything nice to say. And this is something my mother has said so many times to me when I called my sister names. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you do not have anything nice to say, then do not say anything at all. You heard it from Rachel herself.
It doesn't matter how you look. It just matters what's on the inside, and that you're beautiful on the inside and outside, no matter what.
You're beautiful from the inside out, no matter what. Thank you so much for joining us today.